All right, good evening. We're here with Mr. Adrian Lloyd. Just My Stupid Opinion podcast, Jimso podcast, out of the great province of Ontario. And, the great country of Canada, home to Chantal Kravajic and Wayne Gretzky and Terrence and Phillip. And what was your impression observing our democracy yesterday, sir? Do you feel jealous, or do you feel nauseous?
I am a little jealous because your democracy is a lot more exciting than ours. Your politicians have more character to them. Ours is just so boring. So I actually enjoyed doing that yesterday with you guys. And well, the other thing is too is I wish we had a voting system more like yours. I would prefer if I could actually vote directly for my representatives, because the way it works up here is I can vote for the people who cover my riding. My riding, you call them districts. So I can vote for that, but that goes into apply for whenever we're voting in our federal elections, I vote for the candidate in my riding, and that goes on for the larger results for who becomes prime minister, who becomes the party in charge. But so I don't, when I go to the polls in the next election, I'm not going to have Justin Trudeau on my ballot or Andrew Scheer, who are the leaders of their respective parties. It's going to be who's ever in my riding. So I wish we had a system that was more like that. And also, I wish you have a little more control, because we don't really we don't vote for our senators up here. Like we don't have on a ballot. You get to go vote for your senators and decide who it is. So I kind of prefer the American system over the Canadian system, and I think a lot of people up here actually would prefer a more direct democracy type of voting. And that was something that that we were supposed to have changed in with this government, but since Trudeau came into power, that's not going to be happening. So for the next few years, we're going to be dealing with this what's called the first past the post system. It's complicated and confusing. Even I don't really fully understand the first past the post system.
So
But I really enjoyed watching American democracy at play.
So how does the Canadian Senate get elected?
Well, a lot of it is actually our senators get the senators get appointed by the parties, actually. So the prime minister actually has a big say on which senators go in. Sort of like, I guess in a lot of ways, how you guys have the president sort of appoints who's on the Supreme Court. It's kind of the same way.
Yeah, it sounds pretty like ridiculous. It's like if like the prime minister can basically just appoint like any old like dumbass.
More or less.
So like if it was like Chris Matthews was like the prime minister of Canada, he'd basically choose his man crush Barack Obama as a senator. It would just be, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've heard it used to be here in the U.S. your senator would be elected by the state legislature until I think it was like the late 1890s, and then there was I don't remember which amendment it was. I think it was like the 18th amendment, the 18th amendment was prohibition. I don't remember. It was not the 16th amendment, and it wasn't it was somewhere around that time though. And then since then it's been by statewide vote of the electorate, and some people are criticizing that even some conservatives, it's strange, they want to set it back to the time when it was elected by the state legislature, or voted by the state legislature, which I think is a little strange, because basically your state legislature would be the electoral college for the senators. So I don't know. I'm not exactly happy with that idea. And when I was living in Israel, they actually have a pretty weird system. Well, it's not weird because I think a lot of other countries do it. It's called like proportional representation, and that was interesting, but it had its own pitfalls. So you'd vote for the party, and the party would have a list of it was basically have the ordered list of the people that would make it into parliament, and the proportion of people, the proportion of votes would equal the number of seats they would get. So some of them would have like these lists that were like by number 25, because there was no chance they were going to get there. They were going to have like people that were like basically almost dead, that they'd been in politics like 50 years and they'd already retired long ago, but there's nobody else who wants to stand. So, they could have friggin' Humpty Dumpty up there on the list, and it doesn't matter because they're not going to get elected anyway. So yeah, that was interesting. Some people would say that's better. I wouldn't say it's the greatest system, but I mean, there's more than two parties, so I guess there's that. I always complain about there not being two parties.
Well, if you had the opportunity, would you bring in a third party or maybe even a fourth party if you had the opportunity in the American elections?
Yeah, for sure. I always talk. I even talk about it all the time because um, the thing is, like, the Republican Party in some states is basically like they're basically like the Gimp from Pulp Fiction. Like they're imprisoned somewhere by the Democrats, and they basically play like in Massachusetts, for example. They had the GOP candidate was named Jeff Deal. He was running against Elizabeth Warren, and I mean, I saw his debate with her, and I'm amazed that she lost to him because, from what I'd heard in the media, he wasn't the great. He wasn't exactly like a very inspiring candidate at all. But she actually got her ass handed to her by him. But in reality, the Massachusetts Republicans are basically Democrats with country club memberships, and it's just a different country club. So there's a country club for the Democrats in Massachusetts, and there's country clubs for some of the, there's like the parking space of that country club is where the Republicans are. So it's like some states are like that. So especially states like Maryland and Massachusetts. So even if you were a conservative living in Massachusetts, which probably are not a ton of them, but they don't really have a party that represents them on the statewide level. So this year, a guy named Shiva Ayyadurai was running. He had this campaign called "Only the Real Indian Can Beat the Fake Indian," and it was amazing. He had an amazing campaign, but the problem was, I think it had more effect on people following him nationwide from the trollosphere and from the Alex Jones, because he loved going on to Alex Jones, and I think he's very intelligent. He could probably like have his own Alex Jones show now, like Infowars show. I mean, because he's very dynamic and he has like a good screen presence. I don't know if you've seen him, so.
Not that I know of. I don't think I have.
Yeah, he's like very, very good on at like, because he's got like he's been like CEO of his own companies, and he's made his own fortune and stuff like that. He has a PhD from MIT, and I believe it's I don't remember, but it's biomedical science, and he's got a number of engineering degrees. So he's like probably he's more intelligent by far than the average Senate candidate from any state. But he was like trolling the fuck out of her, and like basically, and he'd even been assaulted by one of her followers. So he ran an amazing campaign in my opinion, and it's just Massachusetts doesn't care, so he had no chance of winning. I think he won 3%, which I was a little bummed out. And then Larry Sharp over in New York State is a libertarian, and I've been interested in his campaign for a couple years. One second, Alex wants to join, by the way. You know Alex.
Yeah, I think I remember. I've seen him though. But yeah, let him in. Let's do it.
Yeah, 1 second. Just messaging him. So yeah, I was really pissed off that neither of those candidates were able to do very well, because I thought that they campaigned on average much harder than like most typical candidates. 1 second.
Here. and I'm. It's funny. He ends up getting assaulted by Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah, that was
Like one of her
yeah. I
followers.
think I can play the video here. It's probably still on the internet. I don't know if it got censored or not. I know
Just
it was on
going
Twitter.
into that too.
What's that?
Well, just kind of talking about that sort of. I just saw this. I just saw this right before we ended up going live. I ended up retweeting it, but apparently, right now, outside of Tucker Carr, a bunch of people protesting him and calling him to get out of town.
Yeah, I heard. I also saw that while we were going on the air that there was. It's not just. Apparently, it's an Antifa mob. So I think they're gonna have to call like a bunch of riot police. So here's a video of the guy. I mean, I'll send you so you can hear it. It really sucks that we can't sync our audio. Because every time I have to, like, one of us has to send the other one the video, and then we have to do the whole press play together thing.
Be a way. I'm going to look it up and see if I can find. Yeah, I find that a little bit annoying, but what are you going to do?
One second. Let me know when you're ready. I'm checking what's going on here. Low output. Okay. So this is working. You ready?
It's still loading. My computer's being slow. Hold on, actually. Said it couldn't be. Hold on. Let me try this again.
Yeah. I also
I don't know why it was trying to send me to it.
I saved a couple like reactions from the election. Well, not. I should have collected some more, but of course I had to go to work today, so you know, because I didn't vote Democrat. So so it's like I had to go to work today, so I couldn't like troll and like screenshot a bunch of retards or whatever. We got Alex from Tennessee, the volunteer state. The volunteer state. What's Peyton Manning saying about the election down there in Tennessee?
I have no idea.
Or he doesn't live there
thought
anymore.
about running for Senate for a brief period of time.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have him run for like I mean, I don't think he'd be good in the Senate. He'd probably be good as, you know, Minister of Propaganda or something.
Minister of Propaganda. Why would he be a good Minister of Propaganda?
Because he has those like weird like NFL fantasy videos where him and his brother it's like they're like really like goofy music videos they make. So I think he'd probably be good at doing a lot of election propaganda.
You know what I really want to see? I want to see Bill Belichick as Trump's press secretary.
What?
Could you just imagine that?
I guess. I mean, but they'd be really short press conferences.
He would troll. He would troll CNN like no one else, even better than Trump does.
So, is anybody else going to join, by the way, or did you call?
Do you want me to text number 80?
Yeah, you could text him if he wants, or I don't know if Carlos. I think I asked Carlos if he wanted, but I didn't receive a reply.
Hang on, let me text him real quick.
They're on the West Coast though, so they might still be, you know, over there. You know, what do they do over there?
He's teaching now, I think. Yeah, Kelly, my friend just texted me and said, now do you see why I wanted McSally and not Kelly Ward? Kelly would have easily lost this.
No, she would have beat the fuck out of what's her name.
You think so?
Yeah. No, I actually mean like on the debate stage, she would have took her high heel off and like indented it into her forehead and probably just slapped the shit out of her or something.
No, like McSally was she attacked quite a bit. She went after her pretty hard.
They should have had Sheriff Joe.
No, they shouldn't. He would have lost. No
Yes,
way.
but it would have been interesting.
No, it wouldn't. If Cinema gets elected, she's not going to be, but she would be like a John Tester, who like no one can beat her, no matter how liberal she is. Because
Well,
she played
isn't
it off.
her race? Her race isn't even decided yet because of that stupid, like late early voting or something. I don't even know what the hell that means.
I don't see Cinema making up a 17,000 vote deficit though.
Really? How many votes is that's left? It says 7 precincts. The fuck does that even mean?
No, I think it's like provisional ballots or something like that. It's like they don't count with precinct reports. All of Maricopa County is in. You have 4 precincts in Pima, I believe, which is Tucson, and then you have like 1 precinct in other parts of the state in several counties. Like Yuma County, I think, has 1 outstanding. So
Yuma County is over here, right? Damn it.
it's at the bottom left corner.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, that's not good for Cinema.
No, I don't see her. I'm curious. What shocked me was Florida more so, because Rick Scott's. I mean, I don't think he's going to lose, but he was up 60,000 votes, and now it's in the 20s. So,
well, we're gonna get to that issue.
Anyway,
not really with Rick Scott, but a different issue. So,
I love Rick Scott. I'm glad he won.
Yeah, I think these people pretty much are the same to me. I don't even care anymore. I think this is the last time I vote Republican statewide here in Ohio. Cause
really?
Like, yeah, they keep they keep trying to sell you like a steak sandwich, and it turns out that it's a few tire treads on top of a couple pieces of wheat bread or something.
Who are you disappointed with, and why? I'm curious.
No, they're all crap. Everybody running in the state of Ohio is some sort of failed insurance agent or something. They're all garbage. All of them. I'm not even making.
What did you like, Renacy? What did you think of him?
I didn't think it was that impressive at all. I thought he was like kind of just not that interesting, and he was. I mean, if Sherrod Brown had been less of a goofy weirdo on camera, I think Renacy would have lost by more.
Do you know who I liked? She ran in the primer. Her name was Melissa Atkinson or whatever. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think she only won like something like 90,000 votes though.
I know, but like she was good. I liked her a lot.
So we're gonna run this clip of everybody's sharing this clip. I think you guys know which one I'm talking about, right? The press conference with Jim.
I haven't seen this yet. I just heard something went down.
So I'm sending it to you. You're gonna have to open it in your own browser and let me know when you want to play it. Are you ready, Adrian? You've seen this already.
Text it right quick.
No, I did. What do you mean? You need it again? Here you go.
Yeah, send it to me on like Facebook. Oh, you're doing okay. The Real Clear Politics thing?
Yeah. Adrian, have you seen this yet?
Can you send it one more time? It disappeared from the screen.
Damn it. You can pull it up from the left. Click on this text box. I don't know. Adrian, are you still on the call?
Wait, I got you.
I think he's frozen.
So like what? Pull it up in my browser?
Yeah, pull it up in your browser so you can hear it, because you're not going to hear it through. It's Hangouts, so Hangouts sucks.
All right, tell me when to push play.
All right, sorry, Adrian. Pressing play now. I think we're screwing with his channel this way. I wonder if
filled in the follow-up.
You heard my answer. Good.
Well, since it's Jim, I'll let it go.
Great. Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to challenge you on one of the statements that you made in the tail end of the campaign in the midterms. Here we go. If you don't mind, Mr. President, that this caravan was an invasion. As you know, Mr. President,
I consider it to be an invasion.
As you know, Mr. President, the caravan was not an invasion. It's a group of migrants moving up from Central America towards the border with the U.S.
Thank you for telling me.
And why did you characterize it as such?
Because I consider it an invasion. You and I have a difference of opinion.
But do you think that you demonized immigrants in this election to try to keep...
I want them to come into the country, but they have to come in legally. You know, they have to come in, Jim, through a process. I want it to be a process, and I want people to come in, and we need the people.
Your campaign.
Wait. You know why we need the people, Dash? Because we have hundreds of companies moving in. We need the people.
Your campaign had an ad showing migrants climbing.
I'm wondering if the desktop can hear it.
They weren't actors. Well, no, it's true. Good. Do you think they were actors? They weren't actors. They didn't come from Hollywood. These were people. This was an actual. You know, it happened a few days ago. And
way though, they're hundreds and hundreds of miles away. That's not an invasion.
Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN, and if you did it well, your ratings.
Well, let me ask you, if I may ask one other question, Mr. President. If I may ask one other question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr. President, I was going to ask one of the other folks.
That's enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr. President,
that's enough.
Mr. President, I have one other question, if I may ask on Russia investigation. Are you concerned that you may have...
I'm not concerned about anything with the Russian investigation because it's a hoax. That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this investigation? Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Go ahead.
I think that's unfair.
You're a very rude person. The way you treat Sarah Huckabee is horrible. And the way you treat other people are horrible. You shouldn't treat people that way. Go ahead. Go ahead, Peter. Go ahead.
In Jim's defense, I've traveled with him and watched him. He's a diligent reporter who busts.
Well, I'm not a big fan of yours either. So
I understand.
To be honest.
So let me ask you a question, if I can. You repeatedly said
you aren't the best,
Mr. President. You repeatedly over the course of the...
just sit down, please. Well, when you report fake news, when you report fake news, which CNN does a lot, you are the enemy of the people. Go ahead,
Mr. President. Over the course of the last.
So
what a video.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, so I want more of this. I want to see this all the time. I can't get enough. This is the best, whatever the fuck it is I've ever seen ever. What do you guys think?
I love it, man. This is why I like this president, and I've warmed up to him. He doesn't take crap, because CNN is obviously trying to bait him into saying something stupid, and he just fights back and doesn't let them have their way with him.
How about, Adrian, how do you think that would have gone down if Prime Minister Trudeau had been in that situation? Can you hear him, Alex? Because I can't.
I can't either.
I think there's some... Maybe you should try to reconnect. Because I can't see him either. Like, all I see is his photo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he says he's going to drop out and come back. So we'll put a pin in that conversation, Alex. And so you say you've warmed to Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so why would you say, because you are an open borders guy, you believe in...
I'm not an open borders guy anymore.
You believe... Yeah, but what made you change your mind?
I see what they're doing, man. Like, I see this caravan coming in here like an invasion force. So I see that. That kind of bothers me. But, like, I'm just looking at the numbers of how people vote, and it's pretty obvious. I heard Mark Levin say on the radio the other day, if the people coming across the border were future Republican voters, it would be Democrats rushing to secure the border. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to fundamentally change the demographics of this country so they can stay in power forever. That's how I view it, at least.
Well, yeah, I think, this was never really the most important issue for me because I guess I've never had my job stolen by some guy from Monterey. But, I guess it's pretty obvious right now what they're trying to do, like you said. So when Trump was running on this during the election, I was like, who cares about illegal immigration? Well, apparently Jeb Bush learned really hard. Somebody does care.
There's more to it, man. Like, at first I was like, yeah, that's just bullcrap. Like, I remember I told Pedro, the guy who writes the good articles, I was like, dude, you just are afraid that they're going to vote against us. And he wouldn't admit it at the time. And then, like, I'm watching a video of Stacey Abrams saying we need, the blue wave will be made of Hispanics, documented and undocumented. And I was just like, you're openly inviting Hispanics to vote for your socialist agenda. And she's trying to turn Georgia blue. Georgia's a nice red state, and people from all over the country go to Georgia because it's not blue. They're fleeing to Illinois and New York and California to go there. Even number 80 was thinking of moving to Georgia.
Yeah, I think Georgia's better without him because he'd probably bring his communism with him. Adrian, what would you say? I was going to ask you before we had that connection issue. How do you think that Prime Minister Trudeau would have handled that question from Jim Acosta in the same situation?
Well, the weird part is I could actually both see and hear you guys. I don't know why it was you couldn't see or hear me. But anyway, as I was saying, if it was the other way around, it was Prime Minister Trudeau, he would have gotten down on his knees and started sucking that reporter's dick. Because the difference between Trump and Trudeau is the fact that the media has been very nice to Trudeau, so he just plays up on that, so that way they give him the good press and don't really focus on the bad stories. But even though you couldn't hear me, I was laughing all the way through that. I thought that was fantastic. And it's kind of at the point where what the hell is the guy supposed to do? He knows he's not going to get a fair shake from the media. We remember that, I think it was before the election ended up happening in 2016, they were showing that Trump had received some of the worst coverage than any other presidential nominee in a long time. There were so many negative stories about him, and even if you don't like the guy, there's some things that he does well and some things that you could at least compliment him on, but that almost never happened. So it doesn't surprise me that's the way he's going to act, and that's the way he's got to do it. I've said before, one of the even Trump was been named as the first Twitter president. He had to be the first Twitter president because otherwise he wasn't going to go anywhere because of it. Unless he made his own news channel, there was no way that the media was going to give him a fair shake. So I find it a little funny that after spending about a year and a half of insulting the guy, giving him a hard time, giving unfair coverage, now a lot of these reporters and journalists are starting to play the victim, and they're starting to cry wolf now that Trump's being mean to them. He's pretty much treating them the way that they're treating him.
Yeah, I think it's I don't even think there's like a close second at all for people who have had this type of media coverage, at least not in the USA. I mean, obviously you can go overseas. There's other parallels with populist candidates of recent times, like Bolsonaro in Brazil, etc. So I did find this reaction very funny from Emma Vigeland of TYT. And she says, keep voting Republicans, Florida. The short-term dopamine rush of voting with your racist inclinations is really worth it. Now, she's trying to imply, if you look at the image, I don't know if you guys can see my screen, but you can see on the one side, on the left side, you see the Florida the Florida Peninsula contour as it is today. On the other side, after her predicted doomsday of global warming. But she doesn't realize that's actually playing into the Republicans' hand, because those areas that would be covered by the water are actually the bluest counties in Florida. So what the hell is she talking about? I mean,
that's where all the vote comes from Orlando and from the South Miami and Fort Lauderdale area.
Yeah, I don't know why people in Orlando even would. I mean, I guess there's like a huge gay community in Orlando, but there's you have these counties are
Puerto Rican voters, because it used to be a swing area.
But yeah, Florida has to be like the biggest disappointment for the Democrats ever, and I believe that with the defeat in this governor's race, they're never going to be competitive again in the state, because they poured such a buttload of money into it and they lost. And then they've also apparently, even though he's demanding a recount, they've lost their Senate state race there. So Florida now is straight red in the statewide offices. And that I think is like that is one of the losses. I know the Democrats won the House, and I guess you can't take that away from them. But they're basically 0 for, well, it would be 0 for 5 in statewide races in Florida if you count all the other races besides governor and Senate.
It was super close, as it always is in Florida. And Florida is gonna get a boost because they just signed a thing that allowed a bunch of felons to be able to register to vote. They just passed that in a ballot measure, so that's really going to help the Democrats too.
Are you trying to tell me that as a conservative, I can't commit felonies because
no? But I'm trying to tell you that most felons vote Democrat.
This guy, he's profiling here, Adrian. Remember that. Anyway, back to you, Alex.
Do you not think that that would help the Democrats, though, in all honesty?
Yeah, I did hear about that today. I mean, I was kind of just trying to, like, riff on you. But, yeah, I did hear about that. And I'm wondering how bad it's going to be. But
I don't think it'll make a huge difference. But, I mean, in Florida, every little thing makes a difference because it's always so close. So.
Well, I think they have to the GOP, not just the GOP, like everybody who opposes the Democratic Party has to start getting serious about, actively opposing the Democrats between elections and actually calling them out and trolling their asses like nonstop, because the issue is that people are not engaged in. I mean, we actually need a resistance to the resistance. That's my feeling.
Yeah. I don't know. Another big thing too is that was probably, those two races were probably like my favorite wins of the night. I really like Billy here in Tennessee as well. Those two races, they just gave me a lot of joy because it's like you have Andrew Gillum, who has open ties to anti-Semite organizations, and you have Ron DeSantis, who's the most pro-Israel congressman, and I really like how Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, but those issues people don't give a shit about. I mean, and I'm telling you that as I served in the Israeli army, and those are not real issues, in my opinion. I don't think that those are decisive issues in a race, and I think that the real bottom line is that you had two. I mean, DeSantis, I wasn't very impressed with, and Gillum, I think. I'm surprised how the media was able to twist him into such a sympathetic, I guess, subject, because the guy's just corrupt to the core. So
everything was about race. You could ask the guy if he liked pizza, and he would turn it into your race.
Yeah, that's but like the whole thing. I saw the Laura Loomer video, and I actually did. I don't know if you saw it, because I don't think, Alex, you're actually not subscribed to my channel, I think. So
what? Yeah,
you are. So maybe you don't get alerts. But I did a video.
I just don't. Yeah, I get alerts. I don't usually watch them. Sorry, but I get.
So anyway, I saw this clip of Laura Loomer actually trying to Loomer a what's it called? What's the guy's name? Gillum rally in the Tallahassee area. And she got kicked out of his event because they knew who she was. But she does have a press pass. So she went like ballistic and started calling him an anti-Semite and saying, well, how is this anti-Semite going to kick me out of the synagogue? And I'm like, look, I mean, you got what you needed. You're getting kicked out as a press. I mean, you can't. She went like way. I mean, it didn't make any sense in the end. So I think people focus a lot on the identity politics issue and on Israel and on, there's another candidate in Michigan who actually is Palestinian and whatever. And I know a lot of people, because I am in the Jewish community, of course, such as it exists now, because it's been completely ripped apart by this stupid election. But so people are like basically soiling their pants because this woman from Michigan got elected unopposed, and she's like very, very close to like Palestinian causes. And I'm like, what do you want people to elect people that don't represent them? Because are you going to run Laura Loomer in Dearborn, Michigan? Because she's not going to win. But yeah, I think it's.
I'm surprised there wasn't a black lady or a black guy that won that district, because it's mostly black.
No, it happened in that district. That's the district that John Conyers used to hold. The horny old man that got, I guess, accused by literally all of the Capitol employees of like sexual harassment. like
he was also an American icon, if you ask Joe Stolber.
Oh yeah. So anyway, so he, of course, he had to resign, and his nephew and his grandson ran against each other, and they split the the creepy relatives of the pervert vote. So so then she got in, and she ran unopposed because there was nobody. The Republicans don't even run a candidate in that district.
Yeah, that's there was another lady too, a Somali refugee woman who hates.
Yeah, Ilhan Omar. That guy's also pretty funny. I mean, she's also funny.
Makes me sad because I know either during her state senate campaign or during this one, I forgot when it was, she ran against another Somali refugee who was conservative, and the media didn't pay him any attention, but they made her like a star. Just drives me nuts.
Well, she's married to her brother too.
I heard about that. That's creepy.
Well, here's the thing about that too: is it's not 100% sure whether she is actually married to her brother, but this did open another can of worms because I was kind of looking into this before we ended up coming on stream, and it pretty much, from what we can tell, is even if it turns out to be false and she's not married to her brother, pretty much what is it called that they said she says she's guilty of the crime of bigamy, which is pretty much being married to two people at the same time, because this first husband of hers that is claiming to be that they're claiming is her brother, she didn't end up actually filing for the proper divorce procedures before she married her second husband, which means that she technically would have been married to two people at the same time. So whether it's her brother or whether it's bigamy, it still shows that she's committed some sort of crime, and then that's way she may even be enough to, if there's more that is uncovered about this, it could be enough to possibly dissolve her of her nomination.
Well, how?
I doubt it would. They'll vote for her.
Wait a minute, she's already been elected, dude.
And there's that, yeah.
Yeah, but can't your nomination be dissolved if you're nominated while you're guilty of a crime?
You have to be primaried. Once you win, you're nominated. The Republicans had that problem in New York with that guy that was charged with insider trading. He couldn't. He was basically on the ballot, and he almost lost in our +12 district.
Yeah, I think he did win, though.
He pulled it out, but he's definitely going to be primaried. They tried to get someone else in his place, but New York election law won't allow that. So.
Yeah, it's like a garbage can here in the U.S., but I think it's in terms of all the different election laws across the states. But there was a lot of speculation today about what this actually means about the country and where it's leading. So, I mean, Jim, so do you want to go into that? I mean, this is your show technically. So do you have any impressions on what's going to happen with the country after this?
Oh, with after the midterms? Well, it's pretty much by now. There's no doubt that they're going to at least attempt to start an impeachment process against Trump. That was almost the first things that came out of their mouth once it could have turned out that the Democrats had won the House. So we're going to see that take place. But the only thing about that, which I didn't get a clear answer on the stream yesterday, is whether that they require the Senate in order to go ahead with that. Because if they need the Senate, then there's no way that the Senate is going to go along with it. So it's pretty much an empty threat. If they don't require the Senate, then you're definitely going to start seeing them start to enact this impeachment process. Thing is, though, is I don't think if they do try and do this impeachment process, I don't think it's going to go very far, because because they don't really have enough on Trump, I think, to actually get him thrown out. I mean, this whole Mueller investigation has been pretty quiet for the last 6 months or so. They haven't really done much. The worst that I heard was, I don't know, maybe it was a month, maybe 2 months ago, they said that there was their first indictment in, was it the indictment? Anyway, they said that they had
a conviction of Paul Manafort.
Oh yeah, that was nothing though, he really, not for what they were displaying it to be. They're trying to make it sound like it was he actually met up with the Russians in order to try and secure Trump's victory, but it really was nothing of the sort on that. He pretty much just took a plea bargain because otherwise they probably would have found worse dirt on him. Mostly, I think, would have been money laundering. That's probably what they were really going to hit him on. So I think more than anything, it's just going to be a bitter fight between Trump and the House, because Trump's now also saying that if they decide to start an investigation into him, he's going to start an investigation into them, which is not going to go over too well for the Democrats, because they got a lot of dirty laundry that could get aired right now. I mean, one thing that didn't really get a lot of wins, but was reported on by, at least I know, Tim Pool, was the fact that the Democrats were trying to canvass illegal immigrants to vote for them, people who had no reason to be there. And it's just, if they do try and go after Trump, I think it's actually going to they're going to be the ones who actually who are going to end up in the crosshairs, because as soon as all this starts coming out, people are going to jump ship from the Democrats, I think.
Oh, yeah, Alex, what about you? Do you have anything to add to that? I mean, I think we're all going to agree on some of that, or most of it. But what's your impression about Nancy Pelosi being Speaker of the House, and of course the questions I asked Adrian?
So this is my prediction. I don't think they're going to go the impeachment route. Not saying they're going to do anything productive, but I don't think they're going to go so far as to impeach, because if they do, it's going to make everything Sean Hannity and all of them said correct. And that will really hurt them in 2020, because these guys are all up for re-election in 2 years. I think they're far more likely to just do endless investigations and subpoenas. And they're going to investigate how many times a day Trump goes to the bathroom, how he combs his hair, every last thing they can, to try to stall things and make sure nothing happens in the House. So that's what the House is going to do. Trump is going to be there trolling them on Twitter. That's definitely going to happen. And he's going to give Pelosi hell and make sure she never becomes Speaker again. And then in the Senate, Cocaine Mitch is going to confirm judges nonstop for the next 2 years and try to retake our court system from the active. That's my theory.
Yep,
well, speaking of Pelosi, I just posted the link in the chat there. Have you seen this video of her where she's like, after she gets her press conference, after it turns out the Democrats won the House, like that little dance that she did?
I did not see that. I didn't get to see much video yesterday, so let me play that on screen.
Okay, it's on the article. There's it's the second video down.
Oh, the second video? Sorry.
Yeah, not the first one, but the second one is the one where you see her dance.
Okay, so
it's not long, but it's just that few seconds. It's pretty bad.
I'm pressing play right now. She has these two clone babies
kids
next to her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much.
No, I mean, I think she has the right to be happy, even though, she's probably going to forget how to be happy soon, because I'll tell you my impression, because I think I agree with essentially a lot of what you guys say, even though I don't know about this whole thing where they're not going to try to impeach Trump. It's gonna be a very difficult thing for them to hold back against all of the hordes of hairy, disgusting land whales that they've been motivating for the past 2 years to vote against Trump. And the thing is, so here's what I think could happen too. You see, there's a caucus of people that are going through the House that have been elected to the House that Alex was alluding to earlier concerning the whole Israel support thing and the Palestine support thing. So those people, they also happen to have good, compatibility on other issues. They're the far left fringe of the party at the moment. So they're Ocasio-Cortez. And then you'd have Rashida Tlaib of Michigan, who I referred to earlier, and then Ilhan Omar in Minnesota that Alex brought up, and then there's a number of other ones, Betty McCollum in Minnesota also. So they form
with Minnesota and the anti-Semites.
Well, they have. I mean, I don't know. That's a good question, man.
Well, Keith Ellison's from there too.
Yeah, but they're all from the same county, so. A lot of Minnesota is like really rural, so I don't really think they care either way. But I guess they deserve their state. So the anti-Semite state, the land of 10,000 anti-Semites. That's Minnesota.
So what exactly have they done or said that makes them anti-Semites, though?
So that's a good question. So I always like to. I think Adrian, you've seen some of my videos where like a lot of people are called anti-Semites, but they don't really. I don't think they believe in anti-Semitism so much as they just say things that are like ridiculous. So Keith Ellison, who is the new Attorney General of Minnesota, has been a member of the Nation of Islam in the past, and he's lied about it repeatedly, and he's claimed that he never really was a member. So the Nation of Islam, if you're a follower of Louis Farrakhan, it's pretty hard to miss his opinions about the Jews. So
yeah, he's mentioned them as cockroaches before.
So First Amendment granted. I don't think. I mean, Keith Ellison is lying through his teeth literally all the time when he's asked about it. And I was very shocked that he was able to pull out that win in the Attorney General's race yesterday. And then Ocasio-Cortez, I wouldn't say she's anti-Semitic, but she is very, very virulently on the Palestinian side in terms of that. So she's going to be pressured by a lot of her followers in order to get like really militant about the Palestinian cause in the House. So we'll see exactly how that unwraps. So is this real anti-Semitism? I guess it's in the eye of the beholder or something, because like you can be the definitions being basically applied to everything right now by the ADL, and you guys know I've been writing articles against the ADL and against censorship on the internet and everything. So that's like a really it's a topic that there's no way to be consistent, because both sides accuse each other of the same thing, even though we're talking about two different types of behavior. Like they'll accuse right-wing Christian preachers of being anti-Semitic because they'll say certain verses in the New Testament concerning the conversion of the children of Israel in the end times and whatever. So those things, I guess technically they could be classical anti-Semitism, but they have the same First Amendment that Keith Ellison or Ocasio-Cortez have. And I personally, I kind of break with a lot of people, both in the mainstream politics and in the Jewish community, by saying I want more freedom of speech, not less. So even both sides of this argument that I don't agree with, I don't really care what they say.
Okay, fair enough. Because like I know that sometimes things like anti-Semitism can be thrown around when it's not necessarily warranted. Because there's some people who believe that just being critical of Israel means you're anti-Semitic, or even the BDS movement means that you're anti-Semitic. But I don't. What's that?
Andrew Gillum was tied with a BDS movement.
And I honestly, I just don't think that the BDS movement necessarily means you're an anti-Semite. I mean, it's a complicated situation what's going on right now between Israel and Palestine. But I just don't think that just because you end up on the BDS camp, that immediately means that you're anti-Semitic, you're against the Jewish people, or if you want, racist towards the Jewish people.
Well, I've argued with some people on, especially on the pro-Israel side about it. So I don't see it so much as anti-Semitism as actual, like what the BDS movement does. I'm not talking about their beliefs, because I'm almost a First Amendment absolutist. So if people say crap that, even stuff that's like victimizing handicapped people, I think, and there was a case here in Ohio a few years back. I don't believe people should be, penalized for things that they say that don't cause any harm to somebody, except for calls for violence or whatever. But what BDS does, what the movement does, is they do harass people and deplatform, and they engage in a lot of. They themselves are really into abridging other people's freedom of speech. They'll go in and very violently disrupt speakers at various college campuses, and I've met people who've received that type of treatment for them, and they're almost they're like an earlier version of Antifa. I guess Antifa's been around for a while too. We're just noticing them now in the Trump era, but I have to. I mean, Adrian does make a good point. I don't think that we really need to focus on that issue today, because I think it is overblown in U.S. politics, the role America and the Middle East and the support for Israel. And of course, on the left, they really are into Palestine rights. I always wonder why these countries, why don't these people boycott the Philippines? Because the Philippines is also a country that they occupy these Muslim islands in the south. And I'm being sarcastic because I think it's not really an American issue. So, I'm wondering exactly when that type of obsession is going to stop in American politics with this one issue.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what, though? It's not just necessarily American, too, where that happens, because I know that can probably not as much in America, but even up here in Canada, we still have that sort of where there's that debate that goes on between the left and the right about being Israeli versus Palestine and things like that. So it still plays a part in our politics and politics all around the world. So it's not just America where that is the problem, but it does seem to be that America is sort of the center point when it comes to the focus on Israel. I know what you mean, though. Hopefully that is one of those things that sort of goes by the wayside eventually.
So I think before we kind of went on a sidebar regarding that issue, so those people, the people that we're talking about, the radical part of the Democratic Party, you have to remember that Nancy Pelosi, I believe she only has at the moment 228 seats in the House, and it's not a very wide majority. It is a little more than they needed to get the House, but she needs, first of all, to be elected Speaker. And there was this hilarious tweet earlier where Trump actually said that he endorses her for Speaker, and that if the Democrats aren't going to support her enough, he'll probably get enough Republicans to vote her into. So
that would be really funny.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant move. What?
I don't see any Republican do realistically, but that would be hilarious.
Well, if anything, I think they would do it because Nancy Pelosi is one of those politicians that's becoming more obsolete, as the years go by, and she doesn't really represent a lot of the feelings of a lot of grassroots Democratic groups and left wingers. So I think putting Nancy Pelosi in as Speaker of the House again would actually probably go to the Democrats' detriment. It's like you really don't hear many people who fall on that camp that really talk about Nancy Pelosi as if she's some great politician. Most of them probably want her gone by now. Isn't she only hanging around anyway because Trump's the president now? Wasn't she supposed to retire a year or two ago?
Pelosi has one strength. She's an extremely good fundraiser, and Democrats keep her around because of that. Because she has a very, very low favorability, but she's a really, really good fundraiser, and it helps.
Follow the money.
Yeah, that's
Democrats did very well this race, not because there's some crazy Trump backlash, but they really outraged Republicans when it came to money. And Democrats didn't even do that great. They did well in the House.
Yeah, there was a lot of times that I saw progressive activists complaining about Nancy Pelosi because she is basically this elitist, urban. She's the daughter of the mayor of Baltimore, and she's just not exactly what Alex was saying. She's not a person who represents whether it's the future of the Democratic Party or its roots, because she's not from the working class or anything. She's basically born into a plum position just like the Kennedys, by the way. So. I see Donald Trump, if he's able to get her elected Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi could actually, like Alex was kind of alluding to, I think he's been hinting at it very well, that in 2 years, these people who have been elected in some of these swing districts or actually some surprisingly red districts in South Carolina and Kansas, they're going to be basically retiring because they'll be like, what's even the point of running? Because the Democratic base that came out to vote for them are not going to be satisfied with anything Pelosi's done, and probably didn't want her to collaborate with Trump on anything. And I think she's going to have to help him. In order for her to be a success, she's going to have to pass some legislation. She can't just sit there and eat her rice cakes and drink her bubble tea and all that other crap that they do in San Francisco, where she comes from. So
Right.
it's going to be so she's going to have to cooperate with him on something. And then within 2 years, I think a lot of the support for those center-leaning Democrats in those districts is not really going to be there. Plus, they have to defend those districts while they're, they have such a thin majority in the House. So if they want to win any House votes, they can't travel home to campaign. So it's gonna be very difficult for some of these people to defend that lead, and the Republicans could end up winning the House back in 2020, regardless of everything else that's happening during that election.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that. I think that the Republicans will win the House with a pretty small margin. That's my biggest prediction in 2020.
No, I think actually 2020, if this whole use Pelosi, like basically this is what Trump would be doing. Like he's already started it with that hilarious tweet earlier. So he's basically shoving his hand up her ass and using her as a puppet. And
he's gonna be trolling her on Twitter.
What?
He's gonna be trolling her on Twitter, like I said earlier.
Oh yeah, he's gonna be. Plus, any time that she's gonna be like interacting with him, like on a person-to-person basis, he's probably gonna be mugging for the camera. It's gonna be very embarrassing for her, very very embarrassing. And so the quote unquote resistance of the past 2 years is really it was just an illusion, because she doesn't have like her other option is, like Alex was also saying, that she could just become like the obstinate leader, like what's his name, like John Boehner was portrayed to be sometimes with Barack Obama, and not approve any legislation that Obama wanted, and that has its benefits too, except for the fact that Obama didn't know how to troll Boehner. Yeah, like Obama was very inept at dealing with anybody, whether it was his own party's legislative leaders, and they basically they cucked him at every move. That's why the Democrats accomplished nothing under him when they owned the House. And then against, like, he couldn't deal with McConnell either, or with, I mean, he was outsmarted at every turn. I think Barack Obama might be one of the worst leaders in in American history at dealing with Congress, if you think about it. I mean, what do you think about that, Alex?
Yeah, he wasn't good. I think Republicans, I do want to give, like, I do want to be fair. Republicans did everything they could to resist Obama and make sure nothing happened. They were like the modern day Trump resistance. They weren't quite as bad in like the sense of mobs, but like I was watching a documentary about how Obama tried to get a bipartisan healthcare bill and Chuck Grassley refused to entertain the idea. So then he got Rahm Emanuel to ram Obamacare through. So I mean, like, they refused to work with him at all, but Obama just said, "Okay, screw it. I'm not going to work with you guys either." But he's not Trump. Obama tried to act presidential, quote unquote, but the media wasn't trying to bait him into saying something stupid 24/7 like they do to Trump. And Trump knows that the media is against him, so he just fights back and he doesn't give a crap.
Well, I think you make a valid point about the Republican behavior under Obama. Absolutely, we can't dispute that. What's his name? That Grassley or McConnell. I mean, they were not really helping Obama at all. But they weren't.
Is it true that they said they wanted to make him a one-term president, or is that just a rumor?
But every time, that's a typical response to the other party's guy getting elected. So,
Right.
Newt Gingrich wanted to make Clinton a one. I mean, they wanted to make Bush a one. I mean, that's the way it works. So you can't just say. I think the last time ever that it used to be that the Democrats used to control both houses of Congress,
and Republicans would usually win the presidency.
Yeah, so they had, for example, Nixon had to deal with an opposition. I mean, so Nixon had to deal with the Democrats running Congress his entire presidency. So I mean, he didn't. So they both had to work together, even if the Democrats were, they'd rather work with a Democrat as president, obviously, to get. But the differences in their philosophies weren't as they weren't as publicly obvious now. I think in terms of what they do, they're less different than in terms of the messaging that they put forward. So under President Obama, the GOP did put forward a defiant tone, but they weren't going. The GOP leaders weren't going and basically calling on people to harass Democratic politicians.
Absolutely not. They didn't have the mob mentality.
So
they didn't have Maxine Waters shouting to get in their faces or Cory Booker.
Right. So the Tea Party movement, unlike the resistance movement and the Women's March and some of these other quote unquote grassroots efforts, the Tea Party movement, what was grassroots? The Tea Party movement has never really crystallized into one organization. I mean, there are a couple Tea Party groups that did organize, like Tea Party Express, but the Tea Party movement was a lot more grassroots than the current, whatever the hell you call them, that are permeating around the country, like Indivisible. Those are all funded by well-established nonprofits like the Tides Foundation over in San Francisco, which is of course affiliated with certain George Soros. So like
everywhere.
Yeah, so the Democrats all the time, they complain about the Koch brothers, the Koch brothers, the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers did not really start the Tea Party. The Koch brothers are, I mean, they do fund a lot of these candidates, but their influence is diminishing in the Republican Party because Trump isn't a Koch brothers friend. He's actually
he's very pro tariffs, which they're very globalist.
Mm-hmm. So the Democrats don't have enough dirt to discredit Trump among his supporters because his support is much more organic than they would admit. Rosie O'Donnell, for example, tried to say that Trump is paying all these people to come to his rallies, but then they're also saying that he doesn't have any money. So it's like you have to pick one or the other. And he has like a lot of people. I mean, Alex was Adrian. Alex was at one of his rallies, by the way.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
He came to my hometown, like to my school. So I was like, it's not every day the president comes to like your campus.
So he came to UT Chattanooga.
Yeah, he took our gymnasium.
And the college was there any objection from any of the students there?
Oh yeah, even our SGA, they were like had to put out like a left-leaning statement. It was pretty funny because like they're all run by liberals, and they wanted to put a statement, and like everyone was panicking. It was pretty funny. A lot of protesters too. The Democratic Socialists were protesting, and others they took a projector and projected a Black Lives Matter thing onto the arena while he was.
Well, of course they got a protest because apparently Trump gave a bunch of Democrats PTSD in 2016. That's what they're now claiming.
I know, man. I'm starting to believe it.
Yeah, me too, actually. As you start to see people react to this, you're like, you do actually have some psychological problems.
They still haven't gotten over it.
Yeah, I think it's like breathtaking, the difference. And I mean, I went to work today and nobody gave a shit, and nobody even mentioned the election today. I don't even know what anybody at work thinks politically. So I have to believe that the Democrats that you see like in public on TV and they're not really representative of anybody, because anybody that I know, because I mean I drive to a different county every day, and it is actually a pretty blue county if you think about it, but people were just not interested at all in the election, and I don't even remember if I heard anybody talk about it, even in passing. It was just one person mentioned that he was watching the returns, and that was it. I think this is my opinion, that they've wasted so much money and so much airtime on TV that I have to wonder how long this crappy mainstream media business model is going to last. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
I honestly wonder the same thing. They seem to be doing just fine, but like I read a thing about how the Hallmark channel surpassed CNN during certain hours. So I was like, if you keep doing this bad, something's eventually going to have to change. But I don't know. Time Warner lines the Democratic pocketbook, so we'll see. Do you know what happened with the Tribune and Sinclair merger that they were talking about? I'm curious.
I thought that I don't know much about it, but I thought there was a it was FCC or FTC veto or something. I don't remember. I didn't follow. I thought it was like not that important of a story, but
I would love to see like a good. I think Fox News is turning into it's almost turning into an alt media thing because they have like they have Hannity and Ingram on their primetime lineup, which are some very conservative radio hosts, instead of like an Anderson Cooper or Shepard Smith type anchor, you know.
Well, I've been saying for a while that Democrats still say they'll still say they're trying to insult people, so they'll be like, if you say something that is even mildly skeptical of what the Democrats are saying, they say, "Did you get that from faux news? Fox News." So I'm always telling them, first of all, I don't even watch Fox News. I don't even have a TV, by the way, and I don't even like a lot of Fox News's programming. And I think that they're kind of, they're kind of, corporate conservative. They're not really. They don't believe in anything that with any real principles. But the fact is that Fox News is kicking the shit out of the other cable companies, the other cable broadcasters anyway. And plus, a lot of the people who are very hardcore conservative, they look at, there's some really like gigantic audiences out there that watch other various alternative media. So what they may be publicly scared about Fox News, but I think that the actual executives at those companies have to be wondering like how many people are actually just like watching their news on alternative media channels, whatever side of the aisle they may be. I was watching RT today. I was like, fuck these like CNN. What the hell RT is like, they've got like the best. People basically insult each other, like it's great. So I think it's like I think that their business model is falling apart.
I bet you RT was happy. That's the sad part. Like Russia and China, they were rooting for Democratic victories in the House. I guarantee you, because Trump has been very tough on them. And that's my other theory.
What do you think, Adrian, about the effect on the media?
Well, I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. Even if these channels are failing, such as CNN, they're still going to be around for a long time. There's enough people, I guess, from the older generation that still get their news from these mainstream sources. So I think if anything, it's going to be a few decades before their model actually falls apart. But I think the damage has been done to them that enough people are starting to get away from their model, and they're starting to get their news on other platforms, whether it happens to be alternative media or even going to find it for themselves on social media. Actually, I think right now social media has been one of the big ones where people are getting their news these days. And as technology keeps going along, it's not playing in their favor. So I do think that the mainstream model will eventually fall apart, but we're still a long ways off from there. And it's different in every country. Excuse me. It's different in every country because some still trust it more than others. I know up here that right now I think about something about 52 to 48% of people trust the mainstream media still, but eventually we're going to see it. It's a dinosaur model, so eventually it's going to die off. Because especially with some of the people that you have on on these platforms, it's easy to sit there and criticize people like Anderson Cooper or Shepard Smith. But even on Fox News, they kind of got some ridiculous people on there. I actually do think that Hannity's a bit of a joker. The one thing that I always remember is a few years ago where he showed a picture of Obama working out in the gym, and Obama's got like these, I don't know, like 20-pound weights or something, not very much. And then he goes into like a 5-minute, like his training session with like Chuck Liddell or something like this. So I kind of find that he's a bit of a joker. But I think
who's this?
That was Sean Hannity. He showed a picture of Obama working out in his gym, and it was like he was only maybe lifting some 20-pound weights, nothing heavy. And then it was like a 5-minute montage of Hannity like doing a UFC workout with like Chuck Liddell. And you could kind of tell that it was his first time, for probably his first and only time doing this. So I just, even at the time, thought that was kind of ridiculous. But I actually think that a lot of people are going to these sort of platforms now, going to more independent people like on YouTube or other social media platforms such as Facebook, and they're actually listening to people more like us. We might not be the most popular people in the industry, but I gotta say, these days, I don't really listen to them. I would say most people our generation don't listen to them. And when it comes down to the younger generation, they're just going to do the same thing over and over again. It's so much easier when you have a bunch of information at your hands where you can actually, if somebody, for instance, if a narrative gets put out, you can almost instantly fact check it online. So people,
Sorry,
what was that? No problem. Okay, no problem.
Do you live in Canada?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, what part?
Ontario.
Nice. I have an uncle in Toronto.
Okay, yeah, I'm a couple hours north from Toronto. Your uncle lives in, I think it's been called the most multicultural city in the world.
Oh, that's something. I'm glad we live in America. In fact, I hope y'all can take all our this caravan, for example, that's approaching our border. Maybe Justin Trudeau can take them off our hands.
Haven't we? Isn't the 30,000 plus we've taken off your hands enough already? We're not happy about it.
Yeah, but y'all like diversity and multiculturalism, and
no, that's just what they tell you.
Yeah.
Hey, Adrian, is your stream offline?
Oh yeah, when I was the reason that you was having trouble hearing me, I'm pretty sure, was because of that stream. So I ended up canceling it.
That sucks, man.
Yeah, what I'll just do is I'll download this when we're done, and I'll just mirror it on my channel.
Yeah, man, it's like really rough with this fucking copyright strike, and also I was banned from the Donald Reddit because
why?
I'm kind of pissed off about this because do you remember Alicia Clegg?
Name's familiar.
Alicia Clegg. So she got banned from YouTube. She got like completely wiped like one day. So I made like a support video and I posted it on the Donald. And I guess it's a violation of the rules to promote a channel or something. And I was like, but we're talking. I mean, the entire forum is talking a lot about, censorship and whatever. So I actually messaged them. I said, I won't. I mean, I guess I didn't know about the rule. I won't do it again. Just give me another chance. Very politely. And they wrote back. They're like, no, you're just karma mining and fuck you. And I was like, what do you mean? So I've never posted anything that's like violated any of the other rules. And a lot of my posts on the Donald had like probably, 1,000 upvotes or whatever. Like Reddit was like my best place to get new viewers for a long time. And they basically, they're complete douches and, nothing I can do about it. So that was actually worse than getting the copyright strike for me.
You ever thought about just making a new account and going back on?
I might do it, but then apparently it's like a violation of the Reddit. I mean, I guess it's the same on all the other social media platforms that if once you're banned, you can't like create like a new account to circumvent it. But I mean, maybe eventually I'll try it once they forget who I am.
It's like the dumbest reason to get you canned from
Alicia is like, I mean, her channel is like really informative. Like when I started, when I started YouTubing, I didn't have like the best setup, and I think I actually got into contact with her like in the winter, this last winter, and she's actually. At the beginning, I didn't like really know much about her channel, and some of the videos were just short and very simple. But it's really gotten sophisticated, and she talks a lot about communism in East Asia and stuff like that. So it's stuff that I'm really interested in. I haven't been paying attention lately because of a lot of the current events, but it's a shame YouTube kicked her off, and she's only on BitChute now.
Well, there seems to be a lot of that going around lately. There was someone else who just had their. I'm trying to remember who, but someone else just had their channel canned on YouTube as well.
Yeah, who was it? It was was it Ralph Retort?
Names did, but I don't think that's who you're thinking of.
It was actually before after the Ralph Retort.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I mean, every day there's like a different stupid story about YouTube censorship, and it's, I think that they've finally decided YouTube has that they're not about independent creators, they're more about corporate clients and stuff like that. So I mean, I'm on BitChute. I'm hoping that eventually there will be a big audience gain on BitChute, but I'm not feeling the love from YouTube at all. It's like very difficult to grow on it, and I think they shave subscribers definitely off of channels, because I've observed that every time that I gain a subscriber, like the next day they'll deduct one.
Yeah, I've had a lot of that happen too. I mean, I've been struggling to get up to 650. Like I was going up all right, but then when I reach about 640, every time I got close to 650 subscribers, it seems like I'd lose 2 or 3 or something like that. Sometimes and a lot of times it wasn't even something that I didn't consider would be that polarizing or something that would make somebody unsubscribe. So I don't know why, but yeah, I've been noticing that as well. I think actually that now that a bunch of YouTubers are starting to go over on these other streaming platforms such as DLive and Stream.me, I actually think those are going to be up and comers now.
Yeah, I think YouTube's finally decided that they can make money from selling movies or something, and getting all this corporate traffic, that they don't even care about independent creators anymore. So I guess eventually we're gonna end up. I don't even use DLive yet, but I've seen some DLive. I think is really like the Wild West of video sharing and streaming now. So I'll check it out sometime, because I know Hard Bastard has something on his. He does stream some of his uncensored stuff on it. Anyway, so this is a guy I follow, Jamarl Thomas. Adrian, I'm sure you're familiar.
But I need to head out for the night. So have a good night, Adrian. It's good to meet you.
Yeah, good to see you, man.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by, Alex. And I think Marsha Blackburn. Yeah, I think she. I know I troll you, but I think she really is going to be a very successful senator.
First female senator or first female statewide elected official in Tennessee. So when you hear about the Year of the Woman, tell them that. Have a good one.
All right, have a good one.
See you later. So yeah, that was Alex Ioannidis from Chattanooga, and I think he's got reason to be happy, because Tennessee, I think Tennessee really, the Democrats were hoping to poach one Senate seat there, and Taylor Swift totally torpedoed any of those hopes, and so did the Kavanaugh hearings. So that was a very interesting issue there. Now another Senate seat that they were trying to poach was in Texas, believe it or not, and they did do pretty well, like Beto O'Rourke, or as I call him, Puto O'Rourke, because Puto means it's a very defamatory word in Espanol for a man who is a little light in the loafers. So I know he loves the multiculturalism. So anyway, Progressive Soapbox, Jamarl Thomas, who I've spoken to on the phone, and he's a nice guy, and he's a far left progressive. He's all into pro Venezuela and pro all the other crap that they're into, pro Palestine. Basically, he's like as left as you can get on YouTube, except for maybe that Jason Unruh guy, if you know who that is. So he was.
No, I can't say that I do. Although I would say that you've done a little more than talk. I think there's been 1 or 2 heated debates there.
Oh yeah, there was. I think I've called him like 3 or 4 times. I don't really call him anymore because I'm too busy. But he's not a bad. I mean, beyond the fact that I don't think that there's literally anything we agree on at all, he's not a bad guy. So I think it's good to and he's very nice on the phone to everybody. So I'm not just saying because he lets Miko on. Like, there's a lot of progressives who come on and give him shit for not being like enough of whatever it is that they believe in. So anyway, he made this taunt a few days ago on the 3rd saying, "You're going to lose. I will bathe in your concession speech. It will brighten me in dark moments. Your failure to a guy running as a lefty. Oh, epic." And who was he saying it to? To Lion Ted Cruz. he was like so sure of Ted Cruz losing, and I can't believe that people bought the hype. Although he did do very well, Puto O'Rourke. Let me see if I can find the video. I'll send it to you in the chat.
Alrighty.
Yeah, O'Rourke had like this ridiculous concession speech. So O'Rourke.
The thing is, though, about this Senate race between Ted Cruz and O'Rourke is the fact that it was closer than I thought it would be. You know, like as we were watching the numbers come in, I thought that it would sort of have Ted Cruz out front by a fairly good margin, but it actually was kind of close, which I actually think is going to be a problem in the future, especially as I kind of look at this map over here of where the votes came from. Because we're starting to see, like right now, I'm actually looking at the House votes rather than the Senate votes, but we're starting to see patches of Democrat voters that are appearing in Texas as well as Florida. Now, these have typically been GOP strongholds. So if these are the demographics are starting to change, then that could actually be in the future be a very big problem for them if they're losing these areas, especially because there's a lot of small ridings in there that count for a lot of points. The thing is, too, is Texas is right along the Mexican border, so the more of these illegal immigrants or just immigrants that come in, a lot of them settle in Texas. So I think within the next probably 20 years, Texas is going to become a real battleground when it comes to these sort of elections, that it's actually probably going to go more purple than anything else. So that's something to keep an eye out for when the future comes.
So we have Ryu Shiska in the chat. I just checked, so welcome to him. We're not playing any gay music tonight, so he can stop being all excited. I know he wanted to hear some George Michael, but it's not going to happen tonight, so sorry. Anyway, so this is the variety video of Beto O'Rourke. I don't know if they're going to play his audio, but here we go. You ready?
Just give me 1 second. It's almost loaded. And then I think I might have a commercial. Oh, nope. Almost ready. All right, ready.
Favorite Beto O'Rourke may have lost the Senate race by Texas Republican Ted Cruz, but the rising political star certainly won the internet. I'm Elizabeth Wagmeister with your daily variety update. Following a narrow defeat by Cruz, Beto O'Rourke dropped the F-bomb during his concession speech to his hometown supporters of El Paso, Texas.
It's all of you showing the country how you do this. I'm so proud of you guys.
O'Rourke's unedited F-bomb made its way to live TV with MSNBC airing the uncensored faux pas. Anchor Brian Williams apologized to viewers saying, "Sorry for the F-bomb. We have no control of what's in the concession speeches." Despite his F-bomb, O'Rourke has many celebrity followers, including Texas native Beyonce, who endorsed the candidate just hours before the polls closed. O'Rourke has been compared to President Obama, with the media drawing parallels to his similar charismatic tone of speaking, optimism, and the national attention brought onto his campaign, in large part thanks to his Hollywood support. After his Senate loss, celebrities including Olivia Wilde, Busy Phillips, and Josh Gad took to Twitter to launch the hashtag Beto2020.
Wait, pause. Who the fuck is Josh Gad?
I have no idea.
Anyway, so
yeah, no, I've never heard of this guy before.
Now he can run for president. For more news and information,
although I gotta say, he looks like a ugly version of Seth Rogen.
Elizabeth Wagmeister. See you next time.
Yeah, that's true. Or like a less interesting version.
Yeah, that'd probably be a better way to put it, a less interesting version.
So here's an interesting thing. Variety claims to have 302,000 subscribers, yet this video has less than 3,000 views. So
holy crap.
I really do think that a lot of these channels are getting you know, basically boosts from, I don't know, like YouTube is probably like giving them artificial account subscribers. Like they may, I mean, think about it. They could probably just create dummy accounts and, you know, auto subscribe them to different, whatever you call them, different channels. So another issue that's yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, it wouldn't surprise me because you can actually, for certain people, you can buy subscribers on YouTube. They were actually, after whatever it was a couple months ago, it went down with Mundane Matt. There was reports that he was actually buying his some subscribers to try and stay over 150K subscribers. So it wouldn't surprise me, especially like who's going to keep track of them all and who could really know. Only YouTube would know those numbers. And if they want to keep that quiet, they could do it very easily.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing about YouTube is that I'm very convinced now that they've completely become, you know, just a corporate. I mean, remember YouTube back in the day was, you know, they had all sorts of different, you know, different creators coming on, and there were all sorts of weird videos that you'd find on it, like disturbing shit. And now it's so censored because they're making. I mean, look. This is my second account, so you see a lot of topics. This is the NBA, which I hardly ever watch anything relating to the NBA. And then DJ Vlad, who I've watched one video of his because, and then not anything against him because I do like his interviews, but I've only watched one video of his. But they put like a whole row of his over here. Tommy Robinson, which is understandable because I've watched a few of his. And then, you know, finally you get to the creators I'm actually subscribed to on this account. So it's just ridiculous. I don't know. I think YouTube is headed the wrong way, and it's pretty sad. Ryoshiska says free Alex Jones. 100% agree with that. Yeah, so I think we've run through everything that I wanted to discuss tonight. And I think Alex covered it too. So how about I just play this video of Shiva getting attacked, and we can wrap it up.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Do you have it in the clip tray, or do you need me to send it to you?
I know you sent it to me not too long ago, but I think I got it right here. Yeah, here it is.
All right, so we're watching Shiva getting assaulted by a inclusive, intersectional white man.
We don't produce enough engineers. We don't produce enough doctors. What we do is produce a bunch of scumbag lawyer lobbyists like Elizabeth Warren. They're not come here and have a discussion about racism. That's right. You're the racist, boy.
Racist. Look
at the racist.
No,
oh my.
police now.
Stop.
Get me right in back. I want to file charges on it.
Sit down. I'm okay. I'm fine.
You're in trouble, sir. Yell at the guy that threw the punch.
That's racism, right there. Right, you're the racist. Racist. That's what you guys do.
Violent left. Violent liberal.
Racist, liberal, fascist. You don't know what racism is. Look at you. You've never experienced it.
White privilege is
white privilege. Living in Barrington, eating your organic food while Elizabeth Warren poisons everyone else. Singing your stupid, bloody song. Wake up, America.
I was just hit in the face with a guy when I called him a racist. That's what's going on, guys. This is how these white privileged white supremacists react.
What you just witnessed is how you white supremacists react when you don't want to hear the truth from a dark-skinned Indian guy, the same guy you claim you want to help.
Yeah, this guy, I have to say, has the biggest balls of any of the candidates. I mean, Larry Sharpe was also good, but he didn't have to deal with this type of crap. But I was very, very not happy when he didn't earn a lot of votes. But I guess it's Massachusetts. Let me see here. Shiska says, have you guys heard about the telecommunication phone companies are doing? If you say shit that they deem as hate speech or some shit, they can put you off and not give you internet. Yeah, I think eventually what's going to happen is there's going to have to be first of all, I don't know if this is going to work anyway, but there is going to have to be a class action suit against these phone companies and everything, saying that they're actually infringing on the First Amendment rights of the public, because you can't just say, well, the phone company. I mean, both of us, Adrian and me, are to some degree libertarians. I mean, we haven't discussed this very much, but we're not for state control of anything. But these phone companies would essentially be performing the same function as a state censor in that case.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's the problem that we're seeing right now. And this whole narrative that people use that it's like, well, if you don't like it, go make your own platform. It's not a good argument because of there's always actually GAB is perfect example is that you go make your own platform. Well, then you're going to get pulled by your domain. I think that's what ended up happening to them. They got pulled by their domain. Okay, but what happens if the internet service provider now doesn't want to do it? Now you got to go create your own service provider. So it never ends. So yeah, the less state control for me, the better. And I would say I fall more on the libertarian camp. I don't really classify myself too much these days. I just call myself a right-winger. But yeah, it's safe to say that I fall much more on the libertarian camp than anything else. Less the control of the state, the better, because as I see it, they're not really good at allocating their resources or allocating the people to do the proper job. No matter what it is, it's usually better done but in the public sector. Sorry, the private sector. You know what I meant.
Yeah, I think that I pretty much have understood this too, meaning that we who consider ourselves libertarians, we don't mean that the corporations are able to infringe on the civil liberties of the public. So yes, we're not talking about having basically these ad hoc takeovers of factories and whatever. That as is happening in some of these countries in South America, where they just say, well, one day we're just going to walk in there with the workers and take it over. So we're not advocating for that. But once companies just become so powerful that they're able to control entire aspects of human existence, like there used to be a railroad trust in the U.S., there used to be an oil trust in the U.S. Then we really then that's why we do the trust busting. You break up monopolies because monopolies are not a libertarian business concept. Ryu is actually asking we should tell them, or he's not asking a question. He says we should tell them to go build their own infrastructure then because they are using the people's infrastructure. So, yeah, I don't think that there is that's the issue where people question, do the roads belong to the people? Do the rivers belong to the people? Do the forests belong to the people? Or can those be sold off too? So, I mean, that's a good discussion there, and I think we'll get too far into the weeds on that. So before we do, how about Adrian, Just My Stupid Opinion, Jimso Podcast on Twitter, @JimsoPodcast. Do you have any last thoughts on this whole midterm? Because I felt kind of like it wasn't as big of a deal as people made it out to be, but what do you think?
Well, with the Democrats retaking the House, I would say that I find that Trump's really going to be very limited on what he can do in his agenda. I mean, he already had enough problems as it is trying to get things such as the wall started, and we still haven't really seen that take place. And now I see it as it's going to be virtually impossible for him to do. And it's really just going to be a stalemate now because with the Democrats will try and push things that the Senate will vote against, and then the Republicans who are in the House will be unable to push their agenda either. So I think it's going to be the next couple of years running up to the 2020 election. It's going to be a pretty bitter couple of years for you guys in the U.S. You're just going to see gridlock in Congress, which I suppose is not uncommon, but it would have been better if Trump could have the GOP could have kept the House and pushed along with their agenda. Although the thing is with Trump, though, is that as I've sort of watched him go along, I become a little more disillusioned with him as a populist president. I still think he still does have a populist agenda, but a lot of the things that he was promising, he just didn't really follow through on. So I kind of became a little bit disillusioned with him because of that.
Yeah, like give an example, for instance, like you mean the wall or the repealing Obamacare?
Yeah, like a lot of things that he said that he was going to do, he sort of compromised, which he's didn't. I don't think that's what kind of the people were voting for. So it was just, it just seemed to me like once he got into office, he kind of got a little too comfortable there, and he was willing to sort of go against some of the things that he was talking about. He was willing to more play ball with the Democrats a little more.
So I would say this. Okay, so I'm gonna. I guess I'll give the final word here because you know, he did raise an issue, but it is getting late. So Donald Trump, of course, the biggest disappointment for me was when he failed to get Obamacare repealed. Of course, that's more the domain of the Senate than it is, or the House and Senate than it is of the president, because it is a piece of legislation written into law. But in many ways, he did a lot of workarounds, and Obamacare is basically a skeleton of its former self. So that's the one issue where he disappointed me the most, and he's gonna probably have a difficult time ever resolving it from now on, because they had the best chance the first 2 years, and that's gone for the moment with the House going to Nancy Pelosi. But the areas where he's really kept me more and more interested are the ways that he continues to just confound the media, which I recognize that's not the most important thing, but it's still very important in a social sense. And then the other issue is that he is making a lot of progress in the Far East with North Korea and with you know, people would be stunned 2 years ago to know that 2 years in, our relations with a lot of these countries that were once almost you know, under Obama, they were just completely complete train wrecks. I mean, Obama didn't solve any foreign policy issues except technically some of the war in Colombia, which some people say is about to go hot again in the future. But President Trump is such a transcendent success on the foreign stage that I think when we look at his legacy 15 years from now, 20 years from now, if we're alive, you know, because there could always be that massive asteroid that Bruce Willis was supposed to take out. But if like in 20 years, I think that his legacy will be that, and the other legacy will be how he changed the judicial system with his appointees, not just two Supreme Court appointees, but the lower courts. And you know, it's going to be very interesting how that changes politics in the Democratic and Republican parties. But that's about it. Shiska, thanks for joining us. I wish that we had more viewers, but again, there's a stupid copyright strike. Shiska does ask, can't he divert more money from the military to build a wall, or take money from the things that Dems care about to build? I don't know how that works, so that's a good question. But that's about it for tonight. So on behalf of Adrian Lloyd from Canada, my good colleague, and you know what? We're going to have to start working on some of our other stuff from now on, not just the YouTube shit, because there are other things that we're going to be working on. So I'll be in touch. But thank you. And Adrian, you have any music requests?
The only ones I can think of,
How about Chantal Kravajic? Let's see.
Chantal Kravajic?
Kravaziak. How do you say her name?
I'm not sure, actually.
She's
Can't say I've heard of this person.
Oh, really? She's a Juno Award winner.
I don't care about the Juno Awards.
I thought this was like a first name. I remember she was like big when I was. I used to have Much Music, by the way. So Much Music.
Oh, really? Eh?
Yeah. So we had it for like about a month when cable used to give like free trials for certain channels, and Much Music had like actual videos of you know, music, as opposed to MTV, which was becoming basically the put stuff up your ass channel. So you know, that was the early days of Johnny Knoxville and everything, and that was good, but I just wasn't following it back then. But yeah, I used to see, like, in Canada they just have a lot more musical variety for some reason. Or you guys do. Let me see if there's any of these songs that can play us out. I know Shiska's waiting with bated breath. Let's see here. Oh, we can use this one. Feels Like Home by Chantal Kravajic. And that happens to be the one we're playing. So after this publicized ad by some douche telecom company, we're going to hear some indigenous Canadian music from, well, technically it's not indigenous.
Something in your eyes.
Either way, I'm sure he's going to have a problem with whatever you're playing.
Actually, I'm having a problem with this. Fuck it. Let's just end it. All right. Fuck the music. And so that's about it. Thanks, Adrian. And I had a great time. Also, yesterday was a lot of fun. So.
It was a lot of fun. You know, we should start streaming again a little more because I know it had been a while before we had that stream yesterday. Yeah, we'll start working together again.
Yeah,
it was good to talk to you again, Bull.
I get Mad back too. He's also, or maybe we can go on the Red Eye once in a while.
You know what? He's pretty open about who goes on there. One day we'll coordinate it.
Yeah, I have a hard time getting back from work in time. So.
Fair enough. A lot of days these days, I'm also a little busy at that time, so I've been having problems getting on his stream. But one day when we both have time, we'll jump on that stream.